Do you have a favorite name that you've come up with for any of your characters? The one that you're just like, that's it, nailed it.
No, I like them all.
You like them all. I like Zarek.
Thank you.
That was
fun.
Yeah, that was I like the name, but that was, in terms of reading them, that was, for some reason, that was the character that I enjoyed reading the most, yeah. But I always liked that name. I was like, I wish I was called Zarek.
I like Echo, because nobody can say it or pronounce it. It's awesome.
What's the correct pronunciation?
Echo.
Echo.
Yeah. I'm not Greek. I can't do it correctly either, because all my friends who are Greek are like, I'm not hydrated enough, apparently, to make that sound.
Well, here, there's plenty of water.
Yeah, I know.
Now, with all those characters, do you ever get? I was just reading an interview with George R. R. Martin, which in terms of the scope, and he was saying that a lot of times he's got to depend on his fans to remind him of the different characters and what they're doing and whatnot. Is there ever a point when you're like, wait, who's with who and where do they go where? Or do you keep it straight?
No, it's weird. I don't know where I put my car keys. Or usually my drink. We find my drink all over the house. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Where's Waldo?
Right.
You know, the kids will come down and be like, are you missing this? I'm like, yes, an hour ago, but I've got 3 more now. Thank you. But yeah, no, I can't keep track of anything else. Like my child's birthday. Oh, I was there when you were born. I remember that. Are you sure it's today?
But you know Dad's your Hawk's birthday.
Yeah, exactly.
When is it?
It is. No, if you really want to know, I can tell you. It's March 3rd.
March 3rd? There you go. So get ready to get your birthday party.
85-41 in their years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's... And do I know my own social security number? No. My phone number is hilarious. No.
Have you ever been called out on something by one of your fans? Like, actually, this
No, but they were wrong.
Of course.
They had Stryker confused with, now I can't think. Okay, yes, I have Alzheimer's. Stryker and Sticks and stuff.
Oh,
how can you do
that? That seems like
I mix my kids up all the time. It's like, I do the whole Kenyon roll call. I know that's the dog's name, but I named you and I will remember it.
Is there anything that you use to sort of get you in the mood to write? Any musical or any influences? Or?
Usually it's the kids screaming because it's either right or going to break up a fight.
So that's a good alternative.
Nothing in the world will motivate me to write faster. I can't do that, honey. You're up. I got to work. I got a deadline.
And is there a favorite that you've written, or a favorite character? Not favorite you've written, because that would be, but a favorite character that you just I want to go back and touch on him or her.
No, I mean I love them all. They all drive me crazy. It's like the kids. They all drive crazy, and I love them all.
Yeah.
And there are times I want to kill them. Sometimes I do. I don't go to jail when I kill a fictional character. That's not fun.
Yeah. Has there ever been a fictional character you killed that you brought back?
A few times.
Yeah.
But I haven't figured out how to do Christina. I gotta duct tape his head back on.
That could be
possible.
What did you read growing up?
Everything. Yeah. Mostly horror because I was raised by it. Well, I was raised by Satan, now. It's kind of interesting. My mother was a huge horror fan.
Okay.
And the guys I was raised with were a huge horror fan.
Yeah.
And which always killed me, right? Because my older brother was 6'4" and he was a bodybuilder, so he was, made Arnold Schwarzenegger look small. This is a guy who literally could bench press almost 900 pounds. I mean, he was terrifying. Wow. And I'm in 6th grade, and I hear the big thundering. There was a reason he moved the whole house when he came running. He was running in my room. Jared, get up! I'm watching a scary movie. I need help. I can't watch it by myself. I'm scared. I'm like, what are you going to do? Lob me at the monster?
Did you protect him? Did you go in
and
hold him and cover with him?
No, I just slept on the couch with my feet in his lap. Oh. And I'm like, really? Really? You want the little 6th grader? Okay.
Is anyone else in your family writers?
No.
Just bodybuilders, big bodybuilders.
Well, construction workers.
What was it?
They're construction
workers, okay. Now, when you, with all these characters, because for me, as trying to narrate the books, I sort of cast them in my head, because you're saying that your brother looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, which immediately made me think of a lot of the characters in the book. Do you go into them in that way? Do you sort of see or hear voices in your head of how they speak, or have ideas like actors or people that you know, or your bodybuilder's brother?
No, my family is not that interesting. Well, they are, but not very. I don't want to put that in, but no, not real. I mean, the characters to me are real people, so I hear and see them. Because people are always going, Travis Stumble. I'm like, well, Travis was like 5 years old when I started writing The Dark Hunters. So obviously, not, Ash is really not based on him.
Right.
But no, I see them in my head. They're very real.
That's great. That's perfect. Well, I think that's conveyed in the books, I think. They come off as very real. And is there ever a point where you get just sort of the well just dries up? Do you ever have that moment? Because like I said, you're so prolific. There's been so many stories. Is there ever a moment where you're going, where do I take this? What do I do? And sort of have to step back?
Well, do I get writer's block? No. What I do is I've got different... Well, and I was talking to Loretta, who I'm traveling with, actually, the Son of No One. Mm-hmm. And when I get that, it's generally I have something I want the character to do, mm-hmm. and the character's like, I would never say that. And they come into the office and they're looking at me going, I'm not doing that. And that's the only time I really get blocked, is it's like, no, I want you to go up there and okay, you will.
So they speak to you.
They do. They're there. Yeah. I'm really schizophrenic. I have conversations with myself all the time. My kids are like, their friends will come over. Yes, she's weird. We ignore it. Don't make any sudden moves. She's heavily armed.
That's a good mom. Keep it in place.
Exactly.
Are you ever going to read the story about Thor? I can't think of his name. The one with the son of the devil.
Oh, Thorn.
Thorn.
Okay, yeah. Son of No One actually is a lot about him. He's one of the really, I try not to give spoilers, hello.
But would you have shared an old story about?
He will eventually, if he doesn't die. Do you know why Sherry has this disclaimer? I have to give the disclaimer because I assured a fan once that yes, Kasim had a book, and I had the entire book thought out in my head, plotted, had the heroine, had all of it. And then he died and seized the night. Again, I have no control. And got beheaded. And so now she follows me around all the time going, where is it? You killed him off. So now I have to have a disclaimer, yes, if he does not die.
And my second question was, is if you were going to do another gay story.
Yeah, depending. If one comes to me. The one thing that I do try to do with the characters, well, I always do with the characters, is I have to wait for them to speak to me. Because writing is one of those things, it takes months and months to write a book, sometimes, believe it or not, even for me, a year. And when you're living something that long, if you don't care about them, I think it shows. And so, and God love me, God, I don't know why she hasn't killed me. But, that's why sometimes books get, like, in the case of Darkness Within, Kazil, the reason why we don't have that one yet is I wrote it, and I'm not happy with it. And I can't figure out where I've actually written it twice. And it's missing something, and I don't know what, and I think it just needs more germinating time. And, yeah. So when the muse brings it to me, I will do it.
Thank you so much.
How do you know when a book is done? How do you know when you've completed that character's journey?
When I can sleep again. I literally can't sleep. I go into like this crazy fervor where it's almost like dictation. And I'll go entire 3-4 days without sleeping, which drives my husband crazy, because you don't want to ever see me on those days. I have made the UPS drivers cry. It's like, yes, hi, deadline. I'm like, no, character. So yeah, and once I do that, then the drafting is when I really cannot sleep, and I know when it's done, when it's like, okay, we're here. Now we have to edit.
And has there ever been a point where you sort of, sorry, I have more questions. When you have your idea, I'm assuming that you sort of, when you go into a novel, that you have the idea like, well, here's where it's going to start and finish, sort of an idea. Is there ever a point in a book that you've had where you started writing it and suddenly you go someplace that just completely surprises you? Or do you have it pretty mapped out? Is it all the time?
Oh, God. It's like my son is supposed to be a surgeon. He's a history major. And writing's the same way. It's like, yes, I had all these grandiose schemes for my children, and they laugh at me daily. And the characters do the same thing. It's like, you are not supposed to do that.
But that's great, because you're just going by your instincts and just sort of letting it flow and see where it happens, which it just keeps it alive.
Wow. It is. It's kind of like pretty cats, too. But that's why I write, is I want to figure out what they're doing and why they're doing it. So everything starts with, for me, it doesn't start with a plot. Everything starts with a character. And then it's like, hello, who are you? Come here, talk to me.
Has there ever been a minor character that you put in that suddenly that maybe you didn't think would have a longer future, and you're like, oh, I sort of like
All
this.
the time.
All the time,
Yeah. Well, I just did it with Born of Betrayal. I got halfway through Born of Betrayal, and I'm like, I have to go back now and write Taylor. Darn him. Because he was supposed to be this little minor character, and then he started taking over the book. I'm like, Monique?
First of all, I have to commend you because with the series of books, you have been so spot on with your timelines. And there's another series that's just totally off, that author messed it up. But anyway, I can just imagine your basement must be wall of these little bits and pieces because you've been so accurate from book to book to book. How do you do it?
I keep it in my head.
Oh my God.
Again, ironically, Loretta and I, because I actually have some of it written down now with the screenwriters. Because, I can't stay on the phone with them all the time. And it's like, how do you not? I guess you don't know. Okay. And I don't know where my car keys are. Or my shoes. Thank you. But yeah, it has taken me, I've only done 2 books out of the Dark Hunter series for the screenwriter, and we have 207 pages. And there's, 6 books so far that are out in the league, and the timeline, just the timeline for it is like right under 200 pages.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I had to go back and start looking through the books going, okay, I know it, but I'm going to miss something. And the things that they need, I had to build it. Oh, I'm still working on a huge Bible on it. I'm like, I don't want to miss, because they'll ask me for it. I do remember most things, but some of the secondary characters where it's like, I don't remember the eye color of, like David. I'd have to go look that up. So, most of if it's a major character, I remember it, but some of the secondary characters I haven't used in a while, it's like, oh, I don't remember.
Speaking of the timeline, because I'm always amazed by it as well, did you grow up, were you a huge history buff growing up?
History major.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, because it is pretty amazing just and that it expands books, so I would imagine it was probably a big interest of yours.
I had to do that for my father. Why? Because the whole time I was in grad school, my dad was like, honey, you just need to learn to say, y'all want fries with it. Because I spent all this time, I speak 12 dead languages. And my dad it drove me crazy. He's like, can't you learn German? Can't you learn something modern? I'm like, no, but if we ever bring Chaucer back, I'm there.
Can you say something there?
Madame Kruger med fingerläxa, Maria Sara på bottenläxa. Jag tänker man lever av jorden där nästan för väl vad jag har lite stressa.
God bless you.
Y'all want fries with that?
Wow. That's what that translates to. Y'all want fries with that. And the deadline is amazing.
With the Chronicles of Nick books and Nick changing his kind of storyline, how's that going to affect the Dark Hunter storyline with Nick in those? Because it affects the storyline of him now with those books. And when now they're written, and now it affects how those books now work.
No spoilers.
I didn't see what happens.
You should have been in on the phone call with me and the screenwriter. Because she's working on Chronicles of Nick and she's working on the Dark Hunter TV series. And she's like, I'm so lost. I'm like, okay, but it makes sense in my head. That's great. It makes sense in my head. Because she's got like the next 3 book ideas that I'm kind of working on now. So yeah, it does make sense, and the things that have happened. And it's weird if you go back to Dark Hunter, you'll see things that were put there intentionally that look like it will. And but the whole thing with the Chronicles of Nick is one of the things that I've always liked to play with is how we can change our futures. For each and every one of us. Life is not made by the big decisions that we think are going to be impactful. I left the house 5 minutes early and I got creamed in the car. You know what I mean? It's always those little things that you just don't even think about that have the biggest impact on your life. And that's what Chronicles of Nick is. If you change this, does it change the big things, or is it just the little things? And so it's kind of just my own little philosophical journey of how the Muslim, and I think I've said it several times in the books, which is, those big moments that will forever change your life should come with a huge warning sign. And usually they don't. It's like, we were talking about my back that's been killing me. My back is a result of an injury. I had a baby. And women have babies all the time, but it was an accident during the delivery, and so now, I'm up here shaking because of it 20 years later. It was an innocuous decision. It seemed like a good idea. But it's great. I have a personal slave for the rest of my life. He could never backtalk his mother, because I look at him and go, I had a backbone. Now I have fused tissue.
I wanted to know how you were brave enough to write Cloak and Silence, where being as controversial as that book is. Write it and go, I want it published, or did you have to fight to get it published?
No, when I write the book, gibberish is my native tongue, and I'm far more fluent in it. Any book that I write about people, and I write about relationships, and I love merits, and I've always loved merits. And, yes, I don't want anybody angry at me. I'm human. I love you guys. I don't want to ever disappoint you. That's not why I do what I do. But it needed to be told, and I couldn't sleep till I got it down. So it was in there, and I'm like, I thought it would be a longer novel, but it's one of those that I never have control of them when they're this big. Sometimes they're not. So that's always a surprise. I never know how big it's going to be. Neither does Monique till I hand it in, and Monique goes, I need a vacation. But, I just wrote about the characters because they appealed to me, and they wouldn't let me move on to another character till I got that story written.
What is the editing process like? Has there been a point where you've written something and you said, we got to pare this down a little bit, and you just absolutely said, no, we have to keep this, or how does that all happen once the book is done? There
are times like early on in my career when they didn't trust me, because Nine Embrace was originally that big, and as you know, it's not that big. So we ended up taking like 250 pages out of it, because when you do a book this size, production cost goes up, paper cost goes up, shipping goes up, and when you're first getting started, they look at you and go, "You're out of your mind. You think I'm going to publish a 1,000-page book?" So, but not recently. They kind of, after Ash, I just kind of broke them in.
You're doing whatever you want.
Yeah. After that, they're like, "Okay, it's sold." All right, go for it.
Was it hard starting out? Because I'm sure you guys probably know this. We're just first meeting. So, how did you get started? Was it tough starting out in this realm of writing?
I always say there are two things you don't want to ask me about: publishing and pregnancy, because that will scare you off both.
Well, I already have 2 kids, so
there you go. Yeah. My girlfriend jokes about her writing career's been me, and mine's been I was published for the first time when I was 14. And writing's all I ever really wanted to do. I wrote my first novel when I was 7 years old. I'm not saying it was good. It sucked. It was about a girl who killed her brothers.
How did it sound?
Yeah, it was awesome. My brother found that, when I was in high school, I was like, do we have issues? No, I was not thinking of you when I wrote that. But anyhow, that wasn't revenge. The Barbie doll you turned into barbecue. They burned my Barbies at the stake, and I am so ADD. How do I ever write a book? I don't know. What was the question?
I want that book published. I want to read that one now. Come on, I think that'd be huge. How'd you get started?
How did I get started? I was so young I didn't know not to do it. Mm-hmm. And I wrote the first novel that I actually tried to publish, and I did short stories for many years. And then at 21 when I started Born and Not.
Okay.
And I drafted it, and then my brother got killed. So that set me back about 2.5 years because I didn't write anything, and which was bad because I was a journalist. I was an editor, thank God. But he was a big, huge support. Mm-hmm. And when I lost him, it took me a while to get my head on straight again. So, and then when I married my husband, he was going through, and I had boxes and boxes of things that I've been working on over the years, and I had all the lead stuff. And he's like, I remember when we dated, you were always talking about your characters and your stories, and always working on something. And you don't do that anymore. And I'm like, yeah, no, I don't feel like it. And then that fall, he kept nagging. He's good at that. And the next thing I know, he actually went out and bought me a brother word processor. Yes, I'm old. Yeah. And he set it on a card table. We had no money. We had no furniture. We were married almost a decade before we had a couch. But he bought me this $10 card table and that brother word processor and said, I don't want a book.
That's a challenge.
I know, right? I had to go earn the money back for that. I'm like, okay.
So what'd you write? What'd you get?
David's Angel, actually, on that one. And I went back to Born of Night, so they were kind of written simultaneously.
Okay. And then what was the process of getting it in?
Please, somebody, please find a book. I just kept submitting.
Yeah.
And it took me 2.5 years before Born of Night got the first offer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember that. I sold 6 books in a year to 3 different publishers. They slowly came out, and I had a 4-year involuntary hiatus where I couldn't sell Alpha to a dog kennel and had to rebuild. That's why we had Kidley McGregor, because the first Kenyon books, it wasn't that they didn't do, they did awesome. I actually hit the bestseller list with the first 6 books. But unfortunately, the paranormal market of the early 90s crashed, and nobody survived it. I don't know how many of you remember that, but literally every one of us who wrote paranormal lost our contract. None of us got to go on.
What was the reason behind that?
The market crashed. And, it just, and publishers are animals to they're slaves to that genre.
Sure, yeah.
It's kind of like Hollywood, once it's gone, it's like, And so it took me 4.5 years to reinvent myself. And I started back with historical fiction. And
then it's all come back full circle then.
Yeah, I know, right?
Nice. Yeah. Which is good, because you just kept going doing your thing.
Well, yeah, and
everyone caught up to you.
Yeah. But that's why they're not called vampires, because at the point that I sold Dark Hunter, if you had vampire in there, they're like, no, it's dead. They've been staked.
Wow, is that fun?
Yeah.
Now you gotta start getting zombies in there.
I've had
That's
zombies.
a big thing.
Nick.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Swedish wine and crust.
My sanctuary is when I read your books. What is your sanctuary?
Writing them. That's why I'm prolific. Seriously, and it's funny because, especially early on, they were always afraid I was going to get burned out. It's like, I've been a writer my whole life. My other joke, you came out of the womb telling stories. I'm not sure that's good. But, yeah, that's what I did as a little kid. I made imaginary friends, and I still play with them. That and my children. I do love my children. I know it sounds like I never have any interaction. I do. I just wish they would combine it. Because it's usually when I look my worst, they somehow know, and they come down there, and they come one at a time, and they're little time bandits. It's like an hour and a half for the first one. He goes up, I have 5 minutes, and then his brother comes down for an hour and a half. I'm like, no! What? Your mother really does love you, I swear.
Have your kids read your books?
That's just weird. That's my mom. Ew. I can't even remember read Chronicles of Nick.
Really?
Yeah, their friends do, and then their friends will come over, and their friends are like, so what's going on in the next book, what you working on? And they try. My monitor, I have to keep covered because my son does D&D, and the D&D group comes over, and half of them are avid fans. And they're always like, I gotta go to the bathroom. So we have to put a screen up and all this stuff to keep them out.
Wow.
Yeah, and my kids are like, are you here for me or my mother?
My mom always used to do a lot of junk food, so my friends would come over.
Oh, they
realized, they didn't want to play with me, they just wanted the Twinkies.
What is it with they are scavengers. I have boys, and they come in like vultures, just like the velociraptors are. Guard your fingers. I mean, they are like, don't you people get fed at home? I know your parents, I know they feed you. But I am kind of fearful for the parakeet.
It must be good though, because it's not like a movie in the sense, you can keep your stuff pretty spoiler free. you know, in this world of the internet where everything is sort of out there. That must be sort of a nice comfort for you to know that nothing's getting out, other than your son's friends coming over and ravaging your home.
Well, the fans will do it occasionally. Give me a spoiler. No. And then they beat me back home with it. And I'm like, really? You promised you weren't going to do that to me. Yeah.
Hi, we absolutely love your books, and I've read, I think, almost everything you've read.
Oh, bless you, sweetie.
But there have been a few that stand out that are really just or emotional and were really hard to get through on my end. You know, Ash, Six, Darling's book. You know, even when I read through the series again, because I will constantly go back and reread, especially when you're publishing again. And sometimes I have to skip them because they're just that emotional. And I'm like, I can't do it right now because it just takes me there. So knowing that on my end it's so emotional, how was it on your end, right?
Yeah. I was a basket case. Oh my God. So I love my children. Why? They're my heifers. My son comes home a couple of months back, and how many people at Cracker Barrel have seen this stupid little dog that laughs and rolls? And he put it on my floor, and he's like, Mom, is she writing a book? I hate you now. So yeah, no, I cry, I laugh, I storm. There are certain scenes that I get so angry that I actually have to get up, walk around, and then come back to it.
I remember recording Sticks. The engineer and I were like, oh, God, we gotta take a break. This is some brutal stuff in there.
Sorry, yeah.
No, I mean, it's great, but I thought the same thing. Oh my God, writing that just must be.
And I feel it. Kids, to me, they're real people.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really not characters on the page. So, and there are things, believe it or not, that don't go in the book. There are scenes that really are so much harsher that I pull because A, I don't want to write it. I don't want to go there. But, you know, it is weird because I know a lot of stuff about characters that just don't even make it into the books themselves. Sometimes, there's a bonus scene in there because I couldn't find a place where it fits inside the book. Mm-hmm. So at the very end of it, you have this whole bonus scene. I'm like, I tried to put it in, it didn't really fit anywhere, but it's information that is about Thorn that we kind of need, but it's before the main character is born, so.
On her question, that pain that comes through, that you convey, how much of it is real for you?
What I tend to tell people about Sticks, it's not the part of that book that's fictional that should bother you, it's the parts of it that aren't. Anybody who's read my books, you know I did not have a happy childhood. So, yeah, and I think that's why it seems real, because it's how I cope with a lot of... Writing's what got me through. I would have never, ever made it through my childhood had I not had my writing.
I thought so, but...
Yeah.
Right there with you.
Well, I'm sorry.
No,
I am so sorry.
It's cool.
We survived it, that's right. And that which does not kill you just requires a lot of therapy.
And a lot of money.
Well, you're tough. I mean, at the end of it, my kids are like, wow, I'm a weeble. You guys, y'all fall on the floor and cry if I, just scowl at you.
I know, yeah. You raise your voice. Stop yelling at me.
Yeah. What is that?
My other question is, from a marketing standpoint, I have and received your beautiful collector's edition of Sticks, signed by you. My question is, I really, really, really want Asheron's book in the same format. Tell me, please.
I have no control over that. I tried so hard to get them to do that.
Who do I talk to get control?
Because we had to have some. The problem is the bookstore, convincing the bookstores to carry it. Because they look at it now, it's an old book. And they don't want the hardcovers because we've been there, we've done that. And trying to get it to go back, yeah. And that's the problem. And I agree with Sticks. If we're going to have, I wanted to do them both as a box set.
I understand that. That would have been great.
Yeah, but the store,
but now Sticks is only in my Europe. What do I do?
I'm sorry. Yeah, but I'm with you. I feel your pain, but yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sweetie. Thank you.
I'll talk.
Okay, that works.
I want to know if you've ever thought about writing a memoir.
just because of your, I don't know.
I'm right there with you.
We're friends, so
Friends of that had childhoods like ours, we stick together. And I just thought that it would be something that would, I really think people would read what you have to say.
there are some things that, while I'm pretty open, and it took me, I've got all this stuff I have to deal with, because it never goes away. And I think that's part of why I wrote Sticks, is to show people, and you know this, they're like, well, that was your childhood. And it's like, when you are truly traumatized, I have PTSD. I don't ever really feel safe. I mean, it scars you for life. It's hard to move on past that. And people who don't get it, and I'm glad, I wish nobody understood it, because no kid should. To me, every child should be protected. And that's my one big thing. It's like no kid should be afraid at home. Nobody should know that fear. And unfortunately, as adults, we don't, you deal with it all the time, because again, you never truly, when someone walks into my office, and humor's my other coping mechanism, he's looking around and he's like, how many weapons are in here? I said, 10 more than I need to kill you. I'm stockpiled in there. I've got arrows and I sit on top of a throwing axe, and I have a 45-yard range with it. Which I love my husband. My husband has to be, bar none, the bravest man on the planet. One thing, he needs better lawyers, man. We've been together 30 years. Dude, really, you deserve so much better. But I'm out there one day, and I was writing, I can't remember which book now, it's been about a year ago. And it had been really, I'm just out there throwing the axe. My husband comes out there, honey, are you mad at me? I can throw this faster than you can run. If I was mad at you, this is a bad time to ask. But yeah, I now have heard at the question again. I totally said right off it. Oh, the memoir. Yeah. There are things I still don't want to deal with. So maybe, I don't know. I get asked that actually a lot. Most of the people are gone now, so I could write it. But I don't know, maybe. I never say never after Stig.
I was just curious, how many more Nick Chronicles is there before you catch up to Nick and the Dark Hunters? And then,
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt. There's 14 planned so far. We started out with 11, then it went to 12. Now we're at 14. 14's been holding for 2 years. A record.
And then with the show and the movie, when is that supposed to happen?
I actually just got back from LA. I don't know how many of you know this. It took 5 years to do Game of Thrones, and now I know why. They're working still on the director's script. I didn't realize there were different kinds of scripts. Shooting script, that's what they're doing. They're doing the shooting script. So we've gotten that far. But it's just trying to get everything. Look, you've done this. This is a better question for you. It takes forever to get a movie put together.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people.
There's so many people involved. Well, I was going to ask, how involved are you in this? Are you writing the scripts?
No.
No.
I did the draft, the first draft of it, because when they handed it back in, it was a British writer, and it was amazing, it was awesome, but it was nothing like the books. The names were the same. And I'm like, I have to go out there and face you guys, y'all scare me.
That sounds like that's usually what happens.
Yeah, and I'm that person, I don't want to criticize anybody until it's easy to criticize, but to do something, I'm like, well, I'll take my hand at it. And I sucked, and I admitted it. I handed it in to the editor, to the producer, and I said, I sucked bad. And she's like, not the best, but not the worst. So then we got 2 other writers who are working on it. From the draft that I did, they're putting it in the correct story structure and doing the shooting script. So,
okay. And they're going to sort of go in their own way with your...
I set the timeline, so yeah, they're just, I did the screenplay, it's 300 pages.
It's a long, long TV show.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be a movie, so they're like, we need to cut this in half and then some. So yeah, it's just trying to get it all coordinated. I had no idea. I don't know how a movie gets made after watching it.
Yeah, you have a lot of chefs and a lot of people with ideas how it should be done, but hopefully the person, just sticking behind it, eventually they'll just keep coming back to you about it.
Right, and trying to get the actors, waiting for their schedule to open up, and yeah, it's been challenging.
I'm available.
Okay, there you go. That works.
See me. Okay, sure. Yeah. I was picturing Harry, but
Hi, absolutely love your books.
Oh, bless you, sweetie.
My question is Sabotage. When
If he doesn't die.
Well, the reason I'm asking is, in Ash's book, you mentioned the next big arc was heading toward Jared. I'm sure things have changed.
And it still is.
Is it?
Yes.
Because it seems to be a lot of Sabotage heading there, so...
But they're integral to each other. And it all does make sense. I know it seems kind of like my conversations with y'all. It seems like we segue off, but it does come back.
Okay.
And every little piece is a piece of the puzzle. You look at me and say, eyeballs and a foot, what in the world?
In Styx's book, there seems to be a lot of little hints dropped in there about a certain father. And he's smiling.
Am I?
let's move on.
Let me go back to, I had to keep secrets of 8 boys, and 2 of them were Golden Glove boxers. You did not steal those secrets with immunity. Well, what happened with the League? The reason why that was part of the first 6 books. The first 3 books were 3 of the 6 that were sold. And the reason why the original ones, Paradise City, Born of the Night, and Born of Fire, are so different from the ones that came out in 2009, when I sold them, because they went to 3 different publishing houses, we had to pull them apart. And I lost the contract at one publisher first, then I lost the contract at the other one, and that's when I jumped to Generation 2. Because originally I planned to keep them kind of chronological and build up to Devon, but then once the first 2 were gone, I went ahead to Generation 2 thinking, well, maybe I can come back one day and write the parents' novels. And then once St. Martin's brought them all back out, then I was able to go back in and make them cohesive again. And people are so confused by that now. Who is Rachel? Rachel is Sim.
Do you have an end game with any of this stuff? With any of the series? Is there something where you know where you're leading to, where you say, eventually it's gonna, I'm not saying what it is, but eventually this is where I'm leading these characters to.
Yeah.
So there is an end game, okay.
I don't want to write it for a long time.
Of course.
I'm hoping to write from the grave.
Yeah.
I have them all planned out, a laptop with a really long extension cord.
Sure, you can be done. Why not?
Go shiny. I've threatened my children I will be back to haunt you.
Okay. All right, we can get that done.
Hi.
You got better hearing.
Sorry. I was wondering if you were going to continue with Time on Time.
It is. Wait, it did. In my head, it has. What part do you want me to continue?
No, the Mayan. And
Oh, the Mayan.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of had to make fun of that. It's hilarious. The next series, if you notice in the Dark Hunter books, we have the 2 books that are part of the overarching thing, which was Retribution, Time on Time. And so the next little mini thing that Son of No One starts is kind of the Rise of the Dragons. And we talk about that because there's another. Did you guys know that there's prophecies for everything? Every year we're supposed to end the world. And at the end of Son of No One, there's a line there from the heroine going, well, remember when we all died in 2012, right? So yeah, it does continue on. Ren and them will be back.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I love everything you write.
Thank you.
Your books are one of the things I have to curb my OCD for, in the sense that I started your books when they were only in paperback, and my OCD normally, if I start a series, has to continue that way, but I couldn't wait when you switched over to hardcovers. 6 months is a long time. So my collection is everything, and then it switched to the collector's editions, and whatever format, that's what I get. What are you so strongly obsessed with that you will overlook or curb your OCD for, like that?
I have 3 boys. My OCD went in the toilet. The first time they threw up on my couch, which was 3 seconds after I brought them home. Yeah, no, I really, they have broken me in well. My husband, however, is not. He's far more OCD than me. But yeah, no, I get it. I was raised with 8 boys who did not know how to, and my husband and I have the most backwards arguments. I'm the one who leaves the underwear on the floor. Because I just got tired. If you sat there and beat the guys down, that's all I would ever do. So I was like, yeah, I roll with it. And my husband was raised by girls. He has 2 sisters, older. So they beat him down well. And when we first got married, the biggest fight we had was, why do you keep putting the toilet seat down? I keep closing the lid. It would infuriate me so badly because I kept sitting on the lid. And then he trained me because we were married. How long were we married? 8, 9 years before we had the first baby. And then, because they're boys, now we reverted. I'm like, no. You have trained me to trust you. You cannot go back. So now we have the normal fight. But back in the day, it was just, I have no OCD. My brothers were filthy people. Duct tape, and everything can be cured with duct tape. It is really scarily true, right? It will actually cure warts. I know, right? My doctor was like, holy God, they do know everything. And Crisco. That's the other cure-all. Crisco and duct tape. Yeah, diaper rash. First time my mother said, just laugh. I'm not trying to bake the baby.
Duct tape for the? Use the duct tape for the diaper rash?
No, but I did use it on the diapers. Because I had the one kid who, the diapers now have the Velcro stuff, and they pull that right off. So I actually got so frustrated, I duct taped.
I'll do it.
He could not get that off. I had a Houdini baby. My kids, 2 of them have Asperger's and one's got autism. And the bad thing with the autism baby is he couldn't speak till he was almost 5 years old. And my big fear was somebody was going to run off with him because he was really cute. And he couldn't tell them who he was. I used to put magic markers in the address in my head. I was like, you're insane. And so I had this cute little, and everybody was like, they either loved it or they hated it. There's leashes.
Oh,
but it's awesome because he never fell. It looks like he's in bondage gear, like it's suspending from the ceiling, and I had the thought, but I never actually did it. But it was great because when he'd run, they trip at all, kids trip and fall, and he would do it just to be lazy. Lift those little feet up and laugh. I'm like, oh, this is a bad idea. But
so you get a leash, Crisco, and duct tape at home.
Yeah,
so it is like a bondage
thing
going on there.
And I thought when I had the second one,
Fun times in the Kenyon household.
Torturing my children for pleasure. And then baby 2 comes out. Baby 2's so deep. And I never could figure out because it has the big bear thing. But he could twist around and get out of that thing. I'm like, oh my God.
Big bear thing?
Yeah, it had on the back.
Oh, right, sure.
Yeah, and you would buckle him into it like a backpack.
And make the leash look a little cuter.
Yeah. And that little booger could get out of that thing. I never. He would climb things. You're like, dear God, I've birthed Spider-Man.
Put more Crisco on him than he'll slide.
I
Just saying.
well, he still got out.
He still got out. Wow.
Amazing. Yeah. I should have taken him to the crib. But I sure love my children. Contrary to what they'll say.
Hi. Did you ever have somebody say something and you go, I gotta use that?
My son constantly. The cowards taste like chicken. I stole that from my son. And he's like, I want royalty. I'm like, yeah, and I want the garbage taken out. But yeah, no, he's hilarious. The one who has autism, he's very, very high functioning. And we never told him till he was in high school that he had autism. But he knew that they pulled him out, from class to do certain things. And then he got into an argument with his brother. He's like, well, at least I'm not special ed. And his dad like, and he looks over and he's like, oh my God, I'm in high school. I'm like, son, put the napkin in your lap. It is there for a purpose. And he looks at me, he's like, what kind of mother are you to tell me to wipe my mouth with something to touch my crotch?
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
I never thought of it that way, but I'll never think of it any other way.
Yeah. Wow, I can never ask my kids to do that now. It's changed my entire parenting. Just like that. All right.
Yes, he's the one that came home from school, threw himself down on the floor and said, "Ah, God, I'm a socially awkward man dork." He's hilarious. I love him. I'm like, kid, you got a future in comedy. Am I going to go back to Bear Quad? Did I hear that correctly? I hate Remy. I keep trying to write that story, and he keeps looking at me going, he's the most annoying character. I hope to. They don't cooperate. They just kind of look at me in their little line. Except for Dad, who's like,
I always enjoy reading.
they're fun, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. It's fun.
They're good brothers.
Yeah, I get excited when it goes back there.
Thank you. Thank you.
They're kind of minor characters, but they've always fascinated me. Asmodeus and Nimrod, will they ever get down stuff?
I keep trying to bring them back. Asmodeus, he is such, yeah, they're fun.
I really like their characters, and they were really interesting, and I just keep waiting for them to come back, because they're just...
You and me both.
But they're just, I've always liked the characters that are like that are just like, they're in the background, but they do so much.
Oh, thank you.
And the one I'm pretty sure you get all the time, Cindy.
Yeah, Cindy's always fun. She's actually in some of the new one, but yeah, I keep trying to bring them back. The nuts are bashful. And he hangs with Jared, so he's just kind of like, you know, and I keep wanting Cindy to bring him out of his shell, but he's like, yeah, these people are weird. And yeah, Asmodeus, he's another one too. He shows up at weird times when I never really know when he's going to come in. Like the Guardian, I had no idea he was going to be in it.
I just really love those characters.
Oh, thank you.
They're like, I like all the characters, but my favorite ones seem to be those people that just are, like, they're fascinating because you just can tell that there's something more to them and you want to know.
You will love Towson. Son of no one. He's an, yeah.
I look forward to that then.
Thank you.
Amy and Fang ever gonna have a kid?
Why would you wish them a child?
Because I like wolves.
Yes, but it may not be a wolf, it may be a chow-chow.
The second thing is Ash ever going to have a little girl besides Petra?
He's got Cindy. Cindy might eat a daughter.
Yeah, but I picture trying to see him try to get her looking all pink and knowing that it's not going to happen. By getting black.
Why would you do that to somebody? That would be like when my niece started dating. Let me go back to my brother was gigantic. And when my niece, you know, the guys would come to pick her up. And the other thing about my brother was a Green Beret. So, I mean, he was badass. And the guys would come and they'd be out in the car and his daughter, God, I love a beautiful girl. And they'd blow for her. And my brother would be, hey, you blow for your hug, you come to the door for my daughter. That's what it would be like to date Ashes. So why would you wish that on anybody? I'm surprised my brother didn't slaughter people. I was waiting for that going, okay, I got a body in the trunk, I need a backhoe.
If you're scared, dude, just show them a scary movie and you'd back off.
Well, the thing that she would do too is, you know, he had done Vietnam, so he had confirmed kills, and she's like, what? And he'd show like the trophies and stuff to, or not trophies, but the
medals.
Medals, thank you. Oh my God, hello, yes, I traveled on a plane today and it sucked my brain out. But yeah, so he'd be like, yeah, I got this one for kill. I know 72 ways to kill a man and 69 of them look like an accident. Let me tell you about the time I gutted this one.